Good morning and welcome to this regularly scheduled meeting of the Minneapolis City Council. We have the opportunity before we have our council meetings to recognize important events, important people in our community. And this morning we have a very special opportunity to thank business owners who have been in our community for a very, very long time. I just want to say what a great article, come on up here, what a great article that was in the Star Tribune about the Christ family, who are the owners of the Black Forest Inn. Amusing story too, with the story of the photograph and just how great it is to have such a long-standing business in our community. So my name is Barbara Johnson, Minneapolis City Council President. And I want to apologize to my colleagues and also to the audience for being late this morning. I had an event in my ward I had to go to. Someone drove a car through a building, a commercial building, so I just needed to stop by there and talk to the owner. So that was why I was late, and I'm going to turn this over to my colleague, Councilmember Lisa Bender, who represents the area that Black Forest is located in.
Thank you, Madam President. Thank you so much for the Chris family for being here today. It's so exciting to have this important milestone. And I have to say, I'd be interested to hear after the resolution what you've seen throughout the 50 years you've been an anchor in the neighborhood. And I think that corner now is one of the coolest corners in Minneapolis. And it's, I think, a large part, and thanks to your leadership and your commitment to the community. So here's the resolution designating May 15th, 2015 as Black Forest Inn Day in the city of Minneapolis. Whereas Eric and Joanne Christ opened the Black Forest Inn at First East 26th Street on May 15th, 1965 in the Whittier neighborhood of Minneapolis. And whereas the Black Forest Inn provides excellent handmade food at an accessible price. And whereas the Black Forest Inn established one of Minneapolis's first beer gardens in the 1970s. And whereas the Black Forest Inn has always opened its doors to local artists, musicians, families, and visitors for an authentic German experience. And whereas the Black Forest Inn played a critical role in establishing Eat Street, a 17-block corridor with over 50 unique, authentic, and ethnic food experiences from independent and family-run businesses. And whereas between May 15th and May 17th, 2015, the Black Forest Inn will celebrate its 50th anniversary with music, beer, movies, and games, free and open to the public. Therefore, be it resolved that the City Council in the City of Minneapolis, on behalf of the people of Minneapolis, hereby declares May 15th, 2015 to be Black Forest Inn Day in the City of Minneapolis. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for this, and I think we have to accept this on behalf of all the people who have celebrated all the various ups and downs and side to sides, of life for 50 years. I think I have.
Well, it's your restaurant.
I can comment on, yes, it is. It's Maury Irish's restaurant, and he has been busy from day one, and has been busy all morning, and will be busy all this weekend. And I think, he's an immigrant, and I think that's been a big issue, a big sort of Minneapolis welcoming issue. The city has changed drastically in these 50 years. I think when we first started, ours was more of a neighborhood. At that time, the Art Institute was really kind of central to the neighborhood. The school, the College of Art and Design was a big issue, and all of those artists and the artists at the Children's Theater influenced us over the years very much. I mean, there was always that wonderful from the side questioning of what are you doing and why are you doing it, asking us the right questions, and we tried to give the right answers in terms of a restaurant. And so and then the downtown changed dramatically. When we were there, downtown was it for the city of Minneapolis, and all of us around were kind of serving the downtown. That changed, and a lot of Nicollet Avenue emptied out and then filled in with all of the wonderful restaurants that you now see. And so it's sort of organically developed, and the city of Minneapolis really allowed that to happen in such a lovely way, and we're very grateful for all of it, for all of you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So everyone has to come this weekend and enjoy the great celebration. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I'm going to call this regularly scheduled meeting of the Minneapolis City Council to order. Clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Gordon.
Here.
Cano.
Here.
Reich.
Present.
Bender.
Here.
Glidden.
Here.
Yang.
Here.
Johnson.
Here.
Quincy.
Here.
Warsami.
Present.
Goodman.
Present.
Fry.
Here.
Palmisano.
Present.
President Johnson.
Here.
There are 12 members present. I'm sorry, 13 members present.
13, we have all members present this morning. Next item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda, and there's a motion by myself to amend the agenda to include under the order of resolutions, a resolution honoring the 2015 Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Essay Contest winners. So on that motion, is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in approval say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries. Then, any more changes to the agenda that we have? No? Seeing none, then a motion to approve the agenda as amended is in order.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in approval say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Next, we have acceptance of the minutes of the regular meeting of May 1st, 2015.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in approval say aye. Opposed? That carries. Next, we have referrals of petitions, communications, and reports of the city officers to the proper council, committees, and departments.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in approval say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. The reports of the standing committees are next, and the first is Committee of the Whole, and that committee is chaired by the Council Vice President, Elizabeth Glidden.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have one item, which is reappointing Councilmember John Quincy to the Noise Oversight Committee and appointing Lauren Olson, Intergovernmental Relations Staff, as the alternate for terms beginning June 26, 2015 and ending June 25th, 2017. I'll move that item.
Councilmember Glidden has moved the Committee of the Whole report. Any discussion on that motion? Seeing none, clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Gordon.
Aye.
Cano.
Aye.
Reich.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Glidden.
Aye.
Yang.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Quincy.
Aye.
Warsami.
Aye.
Goodman.
Aye.
Fry.
Aye.
Palmisano.
Aye.
President Johnson.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes and no nays.
That report is adopted. Next, we have the Community Development and Regulatory Services report, and that committee is chaired by Councilmember Goodman.
Thank you, Madam President. The Community Development and Regulatory Services Committee is bringing forward 11 items for approval this morning. Items 1, 2, and 3 are land sales. Item 4 is a license revocation. Item 5 are the regular liquor, gambling, and business license applications. 6 is a business license operating condition. 7 are allowing Nicollet Mall sidewalk cafes to operate intermittently during the next 2-year construction period. 8 is authorizing contracts of almost $1 million for our Great Streets Business Support Program. Item 9 is a Family Housing Fund Board Director appointment. Item 10 is a change in our fee schedule, and item 11 is approving just over $1 million in HOPWA funding, Housing Opportunities for People with AIDS. With that, I'll move items 1 through 11 for approval this morning.
Councilmember Goodman has moved the Community Development and Regulatory Services report. Any discussion on any of those items? Seeing none, clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Gordon.
Aye.
Cano.
Aye.
Reich.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Glidden.
Aye.
Yang.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Quincy.
Aye.
Warsami.
Aye.
Goodman.
Aye.
Fry.
Aye.
Palmisano.
Aye.
President Johnson.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes and no nays.
That report is adopted. Next, we have the report of the Committee on Health, Environment, and Community Engagement, and that committee is chaired by Councilmember Gordon.
President, the Health, Environment, and Community Engagement Committee is bringing 3 items forward for approval. The first is the resolution that approves restructuring our Senior Citizen Advisory Committee and actually renaming it the Minneapolis Advisory Committee on Aging. The second is approving appointments to that committee for 2-year terms beginning January 1st of Diane Sprague, Charlie Lakin, Flo Kastner, Paulette Will, and Hazel Tanner. And the third item is authorizing execution of an amendment to a contract with the Minneapolis High Rise Representative Council to add up to an additional $50,000 to the contract to expand the scope of the current work and extend the contract date to December 31st, 2015. I will move all three items forward for approval.
Councilmember Gordon has moved the Health, Environment, and Community Engagement Report. Any discussion on any of those items? Seeing none, clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Gordon.
Aye.
Cano.
Aye.
Reich.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Glidden.
Aye.
Yang.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Quincy.
Aye.
Warsami.
Aye.
Goodman.
Aye.
Fry.
Aye.
Palmisano.
Aye.
President Johnson.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes and no nays.
That report is adopted. Next, we have the Public Safety, Civil Rights, and Emergency Management Committee report, and that committee is chaired by Councilmember Yang.
Thank you, Madam President. We have two items for approval today. The first item, I'm going to make a substitute motion on, so I will just mention the second item first. Second item is to authorize an execution of a grant agreement to receive $156,000 from the Minnesota Department of Public Safety for the Police Department and to add a DWI officer to the traffic unit and for the purchase of an equipped police vehicle. And I'd like to move that for approval, and then I'd like to make a motion on the first item.
Councilmember Yang has moved item 2 on the Public Safety, Civil Rights, and Emergency Management report. Anyone want to pull that off or discuss? Seeing none, clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Gordon.
Aye.
Cano.
Aye.
Reich.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Glidden.
Aye.
Yang.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Quincy.
Aye.
Warsami.
Aye.
Goodman.
Aye.
Fry.
Aye.
Palmisano.
Aye.
President Johnson.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes and no nays.
That item is adopted. On item 1, Councilmember Yang.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. You will have before you a copy of the motion, and it's a motion to Apologies for that. You will have before you a substitute motion, and it's to substitute the following report for the original report. The Public Safety and Civil Rights and Emergency Management Committee, along with Ways and Means, recommends that the proper city officers be authorized to execute an annual contract agreement with IBM in the amount of $84,000 for the implementation, servicing, and training of a video analytics system to be used as a pilot program in the police department for a total system cost of $100,000, of which all will be provided from the Urban Area Security Initiative grant. And if I may speak a little bit about that, Madam President.
Councilmember Yang has moved the motion that's in front of us, Public Safety, Civil Rights, and Emergency Management, Ways and Means, item number 1. Why don't you go ahead and speak to it?
Thank you, Madam President. In this situation, if you look at the original item and this item, the numbers were inverted. The substitute motion has $84,000 amount. The original item had a $16,000 amount, and that was a clerical error on the part of the police department, and so this is just a correction of that.
Any discussion on that item? Councilmember Yang has moved. Seeing none, clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Gordon.
Aye.
Cano.
Aye.
Reich.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Glidden.
Aye.
Yang.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Quincy.
Aye.
Warsami.
Aye.
Goodman.
Aye.
Fry.
Aye.
Palmisano.
Aye.
President Johnson.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes and no nays.
That item is adopted. Next, we have the Taxes Committee, and that committee is chaired by Councilmember Warsami.
Thank you, Madam President. And we have one item for approval today, and that is the 2015 Minneapolis Board of Appeal and Equalization, approving the Board of Appeal and Equalization report, and I happily move that item for approval.
Councilmember Warsami has moved the taxes report. Anyone want to discuss that item? Seeing none, the clerk call the roll.
Councilmember Gordon.
Aye.
Cano.
Aye.
Reich.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Glidden.
Aye.
Yang.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Quincy.
Aye.
Warsami.
Aye.
Goodman.
Aye.
Fry.
Aye.
Palmisano.
Aye.
President Johnson.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes and no nays.
That report is adopted. Next, we have the Transportation and Public Works Committee report, and that committee is chaired by Councilmember Reich.
Thank you, Madam President. The committee forwarded 7 items today. Item 1 is passage of resolution declaring week of May 17, 2015 as National Public Works Week. Item 2 is regards the Hiawatha Golf Course Feasibility Study Agreement. and it's an authorizing us to negotiate an execution with the Minnehaha Creek Watershed District to proceed with that study. The following items will be referred to the Ways and Means Committee. Item 3 is the 28th Street East resurfacing project, and that's to set the special assessments and the sale of bonds for that project. Item 4 is for the Minnehaha Avenue Street reconstruction project from 26th Street East to 24th Street East, and that's again a series of actions to proceed with that project. Item 5 is the Nicollet Mall Street reconstruction project, and that's a passive resolution ordering the work to proceed and adopting special assessments. Passive resolution and requesting the Board of Estimate Taxation to issue, to allow the city to issue the sale of a settlement bond for the project, and passive resolution ordering the abandonment and removal of areaways located in the public right-of-way. And distributed today was an amendment that has been distributed, removing the assessments against the parcels owned by the Federal Reserve Bank of Minneapolis from the Nicollet Mall assessment roll, as they are exempt from special assessments under federal law, and extending the repayment period for the property located at 15th South First Street from 1 year to 20 years. And then item 6 is the 8th Street, Southeast Street reconstruction project, street lighting project. And item 7 is a series of actions regarding the TMO grant agreements with the Metropolitan Council as a pass-through for those grants in a total of $623, and authorized execution of FTA fiscal year 2015, and authorized execution of the agreement with the Downtown Minneapolis Transportation Management Organization to do the work that they do on our behalf. With that, Madam Chair, I move all items and noting item 5 as amended.
Councilmember Reich has moved the Transportation Public Works report, including number 5, which is in front of you, the change in the assessment rolls. Any discussion on those items? Anyone want to pull anything off? Seeing none, clerk, call the roll.
Councilmember Gordon.
Aye.
Connell.
Aye.
Reich.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Glidden.
Aye.
Yang.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Quincy.
Aye.
Warsami.
Aye.
Goodman.
Aye.
Fry.
Aye.
Palmisano.
Aye.
President Johnson.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes and no nays.
That report is adopted. And next, we have the Ways and Means Committee report, and that committee is chaired by Councilmember Quincy.
Thank you, Madam President. Ways and Means will bring forward 17 items for your consideration and approval this morning. The first item is the passage of an ordinance amending Appendix H of the Minneapolis Code of Ordinances relating to Minneapolis cable communication franchises. It adds a new Chapter 2, granting a cable franchise to CenturyLink. It adopts the findings of fact and recommendations as prepared by the city attorney. Item number 2 and 3 are the approval of reappointments of Christine Seward and Macy Wheeler to serve as civil service commissioners. Item number 4 is two legal settlements. Item number 5 and 6 are conflict of waiver. With one is with Stinson Leonard Street, and the other is with Dorsey and Whitney. Item number 7 is the approval of the appointment of Daryl A. Bullock from the 4th Ward to serve a term on the Minneapolis Television Network Board. Item number 8 extends a contract with Allied Waste for convention center waste hauling. Item number 9 is the first quarter gift acceptance. Item number 10 is a resolution creating a revised program for hardship deferrals of special assessments. Item number 11 is the execution of a contract with Canon Solutions America for Geographical Information Services plotter. Item number 12 is the authorizing execution of an amendment to a contract with Halogen Software for the Enterprise Performance Management System. Item number 13 executes a 2-year contract with Appendio for the Public Works Accident Vehicle Reporting. Items 14, 15, 16, and 17 are acceptance of gifts for travel expenses to various conferences. So those travel donations are noted on the report. Happy to move all 17 items for approval.
Councilmember Quincy had a busy week in the Ways and Means Committee, so he has moved the entire report. And Councilmember Glidden.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I have a comment on item number 1.
Okay, why don't you go ahead?
Thank you. Item number 1 is Minneapolis's consideration of adding, granting a cable franchise to CenturyLink. And this has been an item that has been on our docket for several months actually now, going through multiple public hearings. And let me just say, I think this is a really big deal. It's a big deal that we have an entrant who is willing to explore coming into the market in Minneapolis and in many other cities as well. I know there are discussions happening that I hear from my colleagues in other cities. And I regret to say I'm not going to be able to support this cable franchise grant today. And I wanted to go through some of my reasons for that. Again, I think that this is really just a tremendous moment in time. We have had one cable franchise provider in the city of Minneapolis for almost 40 years. And just let me repeat that. For almost 40 years, we have not had competition in the market. And as a resident, I'm not happy about that. I think competition in the market is needed. It's critical. It helps motivate the market. It helps motivate better prices for our businesses and for our residents, and hopefully better service as well. But again, because this is such a big moment, I think when we have the mechanism through a franchise agreement that sets the course for the future, I think we need to get that mechanism right, and I'm not confident that we have done that. We have had some presentation from CenturyLink about how they hope to serve the public and how they hope to start entering the market. They have talked about in the public hearing process that they believe that they could serve, I believe, 30% of the city, and I may be saying that percentage a little bit incorrectly, but 30% within the first 2 years, and that they have goals for serving every ward. And I will say, in a best case scenario, we hope that CenturyLink would do really well, or another entrant in the market would do really well, and that they would hit their business goals and they would be able to continue to march forward and hopefully in the end serve our entire city. But the importance of regulation and of a franchise agreement is that not that we're going to direct all the business activities of an operation, but that if things don't go the way that we hope, if things don't happen in the way that we think serves the goals of the city of Minneapolis, that we have a mechanism for enforcement. And that's where I am concerned that we do not have a mechanism of enforcement that is usable, that will be able to help guide our goals. And in the end, I think that competition by itself is not enough. I think it is very important, but I think it's not enough. And I guess I would rely also on the goals that I think you can interpret from the state law of our state, which guide franchises to have a goal of serving all residents in a municipality. And they have this 5-year build-out goal. We've had a lot of discussion in our committee, and we know, I think we have not yet seen the legal challenge to that, but maybe that's coming in the future. We have seen how the evidence of how difficult it is for entrants in the market to meet that build-out goal. And so I'm not here to opine on what's the future of Minnesota law, but I will talk about, I think that actually is an important goal, and that goal of serving all residents should be reflected also somehow in our franchise agreement mechanism. In our franchise agreement mechanism, there were a couple things, and I'm just going to point to them specifically, that were the items that gave me grave pause for concern and why I'm not able to support this agreement today. The first item was talking about the build-out that is going to be required as part of our franchise agreement. And as I mentioned before, CenturyLink has spoken in the public hearing process about its desire and ability to build out to a 30% goal. However, what we're seeing as the initial minimum build-out commitment in the franchise agreement is 15% of the city over 2 years. I'll just say quite honestly, that is very concerning to me. It raises the question to me about whether that is a reasonable build-out requirement when the build-out requirement is half what the entrant into the market has said that they would be able to provide. Again, this says, what is our ability to have an enforcement mechanism should things not go the way that we hope? A second item that is probably the most concerning to me is the item that talks about what's the additional build-out requirement based on market success. And I do think that this was a talking about what's the mechanism for making sure that we're in tune to the business needs of the operator, and how, they need to make some money to continue to build out the system. And this franchise agreement, I think, did incorporate those concepts. However, the mechanism, I think, has a bar that is so high that I cannot see the city of Minneapolis ever being able to utilize that mechanism. So today, as an example, Comcast has penetration in the market of, I think the range is between 40 and 45%. I'm not sure what time frame that covers, but that was what was in our findings of fact that you can see before us today. In the franchise agreement, the city of Minneapolis does not have any mechanism to ask for further build out until CenturyLink meets a penetration rate of 27.5%. And just let me say that again, 27.5%. This would be more than half, taking more than half of the customers now served by Comcast. And I'll just say it sounds to me like that is an extremely high bar. I question if that's a reachable bar. And if there's not a mechanism to ensure build out, then why do we have the franchise agreement? I'm out of time. I did have one last comment that was about, do you want me to just finish off now? Thank you. The last thing I'll just say is, again, the franchise agreement is not, is where we go if we have to have an enforcement mechanism. And if that enforcement mechanism is not in place, then if things do not go the way we hope, we're stuck with what we have in that franchise agreement. We hope we never have to use it as an enforcement mechanism, but there you are. We are the first city in the state of Minnesota to be at this point in contemplating a franchise agreement. What we do undoubtedly will impact communities around the state and their ability to negotiate franchise agreements that allow them to have enforceable mechanisms to reach the goals that hopefully will be served by a franchise, which is increasing competition and, as I have said, having a mechanism, having a pathway to serve all residents. I think we do a disservice if this is the agreement to our communities around the state of Minnesota, if this is the agreement that we go with today. Thank you.
Councilmember Quincy.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate the comments that Councilmember Glidden has made in today's meeting, as well as all the previous public hearings that we've had on this topic. So we really did bring a lot of our concerns to the table. I wanted to compliment, of course, our city attorney's office, as well as our outside counsel that was engaged on this negotiation. It is a unique opportunity, I believe, for the city to lead many of these other communities along the way to achieve greater competition. And that to achieve that greater competition, we're going to have to be able to take the first leap. And that's a big step for the city of Minneapolis. I agree that there is a concern about the build-out requirements within the 5-year time frame. as well as with the state law issue. But there's also a federal ruling that kind of directs and probably preempts state law on this issue, but that is to be settled by the courts later. I would expect a legal suit on, no matter what we do today, on one side or the other. Either we're creating too great a barrier for entry, or we're creating something that's in conflict with state law on 5-year build-out. I'm pleased that in the negotiation of this franchise agreement, that we did achieve first of all, a 5-year term, which allows us an opportunity for further review. I also believe we achieved the opportunity to be indemnified from that action should a lawsuit arise, and a commitment to diverse programming. The creation of the Minneapolis Mosaic, which provides 9 channels and high def that'll provide access to the city and a nice program guide. I think we've addressed some of the build-out concerns, especially with the opportunity to accelerate build-out based on results. As they're achieving business goals, we'll be able to monitor that on a quarterly basis beginning in January. So monitoring that progress as they're achieving their goal of at least 30% build-out, but as Councilmember Glidden pointed out, that's not achievable within the negotiation of the franchise agreement as something that we're able to defend. So that's why the 15% is in there as opposed to the 30%, but I think that is their goal, and that's something our communications office and the city's attorney's office will be monitoring, as I said, on a quarterly basis beginning in January. So I think this provides the unique opportunity for competition that's in the best interest of our citizens. It encourages a significant investment of millions of dollars in the city, especially for our communications workers who are affiliated with CenturyLink and are very supportive of this action. So I would encourage the council to support this direction. So approval is what I'm seeking. Thank you.
Councilmember Frye.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm also very supportive of this initiative, and I just wanted to comment on a couple of issues. A lot of people have talked about, well, we're not requiring CenturyLink to build out the entire city all at once, and I think there's a very good reason for that. When Comcast initially came to the market, they were required to do an entire 100% full city build out. And in exchange, the city had the ability to grant what was, for all intents and purposes, a monopoly. Now we no longer have that ability because Comcast occupies the entire field. If CenturyLink is to come in and they were required to have a full build out, we couldn't give them in exchange that monopoly that we previously gave Comcast. Rather, every single customer that CenturyLink would acquire would have to be siphoned off of already existing providers, and that is a difficulty. And in terms of barriers to entry, we have had barriers to entry, I would say, for the entirety of the period that Comcast has existed so far. Because they've occupied this entire field, it's been almost impossible for another provider to get in there. And I think after 40 or 50 years of having the exact same results, I think it's time to try something different to increase competition.
Councilmember Yang.
Thank you, Madam President. The concerns that were shared by Council Vice President Glidden are some concerns that I have, but I have to say that, relative to other franchise agreements, this franchise agreement is fairly short. I mean, it's a 5-year franchise agreement, and from that time period, we can, go back and revisit the franchise agreement. Additionally, Councilmember Quincy mentioned that there's going to be monitoring of these build-out requirements, and we're going to return to that. I believe it's quarterly, so it's going to give us a chance to really take a look at what they're doing. And I think that 15% build-out requirements that they came to, I think that's the floor. I mean, I really think that with CenturyLink and other corporate entities or business entities, I mean, it's in their best interest to do everything they can to go higher and make more money. I mean, the object of the game is to make a lot of money, and I'm confident that that's what they're going to try to do. And so, when I look at this, I mean, I think that if they're not exceeding their requirements, I mean, I think at some point, I mean, it will cause them to be embarrassed, really. And so I think that's the important part about this. I mean, when you look at this, I mean, competition is really good for the marketplace. And I look at what they're about to embark on, and it's a big task. But I mean, I certainly wish them well in terms of doing what they're doing, and I support this. I think that it's good for the marketplace. I got a chance to actually look at. I guess what at the time, and probably still is, I mean, their trade secrets in terms of, the market penetration or the coverage that they'll have in each of the wards. And, I'm fairly satisfied with what I saw in terms of, what they're going to do or what they're going to try to tackle. And so, with that, I mean, I'm supportive of this. I urge other council members to be supportive as well.
Councilmember Johnson?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I share some of the concerns that have been expressed as well. I think when we were told, hey, it's going to be a 30% rollout, and then it dropped down to 15%, felt kind of like a bait and switch. At the same time, though, I think that this is going to increase competition. We are going to see lower costing cable service for our residents, and that's going to be a great thing, being able to save residents some money. We go from a monopoly ultimately to really a duopoly on this, and my hope is that we actually see more than just CenturyLink in the marketplace. We actually see some other potential vendors stepping up and stepping forward. And actually that is a way to look at this too, the 15% requirements, is that if we have it, a precedent in place that sets a lower bar for what it takes to enter the market, it just makes it easier for the smaller guys to come into the market as well and increase the competition beyond what we've even seen. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if CenturyLink doesn't operate in good faith and doesn't do a good job at getting outcomes within our city that are equitable and ultimately providing the competition we're seeking, we're going to have this before us in 5 years. You're obviously making a very big investment to do this, and so it's in your interest as well to do a very good job with it. And, it's not going to benefit me personally because I already cut the cord. I'm on Netflix, and I get the HD TV antenna, which I personally am very happy about that decision. I would strongly encourage you to please continue investing as much as you can in rolling out fiber optic internet service across the city. I encourage all vendors and ISPs to do that. I think that's really the wave of the future here. That's what a lot of people are going to do, especially as you see a lot of these video services on the top layer, HBO Go, and I think hopefully ESPN will follow suit soon, and we'll have essentially a de facto a la carte cable service where individuals can really get the programming that they want through high-speed internet along with all the economic benefits that come with it. So I am supportive of this today. Thank you.
Any further discussion on the Ways and Means report? Seeing as we may have a divided vote, I think I'll have clerk call the roll on item 1, and then we'll have the rest of the report. On item 1.
Councilmember Gordon.
Aye.
Cano.
Aye.
Reich.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Glidden.
No.
Yang.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Quincy.
Aye.
Warsami.
Aye.
Goodman.
Aye.
Fry.
Aye.
Palmisano.
Aye.
President Johnson.
Aye.
There are 12 ayes and 1 nay.
That item is adopted. Then on the rest of the Ways and Means report, any further discussion on any of those items? Seeing none, clerk call the roll on the remainder of the Ways and Means report.
Councilmember Gordon.
Aye.
Cano.
Aye.
Reich.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Glidden.
Aye.
Yang.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Quincy.
Aye.
Warsami.
Aye.
Goodman.
Aye.
Fry.
Aye.
Palmisano.
Aye.
President Johnson.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes and no nays.
That report is adopted. Next, we have the report of the Zoning and Planning Committee, and that committee is chaired by Councilmember Bender.
Thank you, Madam President. We have just 2 items from Zoning and Planning. Item number 1 is to grant an appeal, followed by the property owner of 4609 28th Avenue to allow for the addition an expansion of a non-conforming fourplex. And item number 2 is passage of an ordinance amending the zoning code in chapters of Title 20 related to the calculation of floor area ratio for single and two-family dwellings. And this is related to the height of basements, related to the 1 to 4 unit building amendments that Councilmember Palmisano authored last year. And I will forward both items.
Councilmember Bender has moved the zoning and planning report, including the, adopting findings of fact on item 1. Any discussion on those items? Seeing none, clerk will call the roll.
Councilmember Gordon.
Aye.
Connell.
Aye.
Reich.
Aye.
Bender.
Aye.
Glidden.
Aye.
Yang.
Aye.
Johnson.
Aye.
Quincy.
Aye.
Warsami.
Aye. Aye.
Goodman.
Aye.
Fry.
Aye.
Palmisano.
Aye.
President Johnson.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes and no nays.
That report is adopted. Next, we have the introduction and referral calendar, and the first item is an ordinance introduction. Councilmember Gordon and Palmisano introduced the subject matter of an ordinance amending the code relating to zoning and planning, developing requirements for design of skyways. Any discussion on that ordinance introduction? Seeing none, all in approval say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, that carries. Next, we have pursuant to notice, a notice by Councilmember Yang and Councilmember Gordon to introduce the subject matter of an ordinance amending the code relating to licenses and business regulations, tobacco dealers, for first reading and referral to health, environment, and community engagement, regulating sales. Any discussion on that ordinance introduction? Seeing none, all in approval say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Next, we have an ordinance introduction pursuant to notice. Councilmember Andrew Johnson introduces the subject matter of an ordinance amending the code relating to licenses and business regulations, amusements, repealing Article 9, musical jukeboxes. Any discussion on that ordinance introduction? Seeing none, all in approval say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Next, we have pursuant to notice an ordinance introduction by Councilmember Andrew Johnson to introduce the subject matter of an ordinance amending the code relating to licenses and business regulations, hospitals, for first reading and referral to Community Development and Regulatory Services Committee, repealing Chapter 296. Any discussion on that ordinance introduction? Seeing none, all in approval say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Another ordinance introduction by Councilmember Andrew Johnson, introducing the subject matter of an ordinance amending the code relating to license and business regulations, ice sale and manufacture, amending and repealing selected provisions. Any discussion on that ordinance introduction? Seeing none, all in approval say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Next, we have an ordinance introduction by Councilmember Andrew Johnson, introducing the subject matter of an ordinance amending the code relating to offenses miscellaneous, repealing section 385.70 entitled Hats, Conduct in Theaters. Any discussion on that ordinance introduction? Seeing none, all in approval say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries. Next, we have an ordinance introduction pursuant to notice by Councilmember Reich to introduce the subject matter of an ordinance amending the code relating to liquor and beer, liquor licenses, sending it to Community Development Regulatory Services Committee for a public hearing on May 19, 2015, amending provisions pertaining to off-sale malt liquor and distilled spirits regulations for brewers and micro distilleries. Any discussion on that ordinance introduction? Seeing none, all in approval say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Next, we have an ordinance introduction, which is unanimous consent is required. Councilmember Fry is moving to introduce the subject matter of an ordinance amending the code relating to liquor and beer, liquor regulations for first reading and referral to Community Development Regulatory Services Committee to a public hearing to be held May 19, 2015, amending provisions pertaining to Sunday sales hours. Any discussion on that ordinance introduction? Seeing none, all in approval say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Next, we have resolutions. First is an honorary resolution in your book, passage of a resolution recognizing, Alzheimer and Brain Awareness Month. Any discussion on that resolution? Seeing none, all in approval say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. We also have an honorary resolution honoring Community Covenant Church. Any discussion on that resolution? Seeing none, all in approval say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. We also have the resolution that was read before the council meeting designating May 15th, 2015 as Black Forest In Day in the city of Minneapolis. Any discussion on that honorary resolution? Seeing none, all in approval say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Next, we have the honorary resolution, which was added at the beginning of the meeting, passage of a resolution honoring the 2015 Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Essay Contest winners. And on that resolution, there will be a ceremony on Monday, this next Monday, May 18th, at 6 p.m. in the Martin Luther King Conference Room on the second floor of City Hall, honoring the 2015 Martin Luther King Jr. Essay Contest winners. And this is an annual contest that's open to any student in 9th, 10th, and 11th grade in Minneapolis. And one essay is submitted, and usually there is a topic that's decided by the Civil Rights Commission, and children respond. And I'm going to read the names of the winners because I think that's important. The first place in the 9th grade competition was Anna Kelly, Washburn High School. Second place, Araya Cotton at Washburn High School. And third place, Raphael Malzewski, I'm probably just murdering his name, Malowitz, Washburn High School. 11th grade, first place, Destiny Moore, Patrick Henry High School. And second place, Zavang, North Academy School of Arts and Communication. So we're delighted for those young people. And I hope that people can attend the event to honor those young people on Monday. So on that honorary resolution, all in approval say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Next, we have motions, and the first is a residential housing density motion by Councilmember Fry to direct community planning and economic development staff to pursue a comprehensive plan amendment to resolve the existing inconsistency in residential density ranges for the very high density category of land use, and to more accurately reflect the city's goals for growth and achievable density limits for that category. On that motion, any discussion? Seeing none, all in approval say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That carries. Under new business, we have a notice of intent. Councilmember Quincy gives notice of intent to introduce at the next regular meeting of the City Council the subject matter of an ordinance amending the code relating to the Minneapolis cable franchises, amending the Comcast franchise provisions in accordance with the franchise settlement agreement. That notice is given. Councilmember Fry gives notice of intent to introduce at the next regular meeting of the City Council the subject matter of an ordinance amending the code relating to liquor and beer, amending provisions pertaining to Sunday sales hours for establishments with on-sale licenses. That notice is given. Councilmember Fry also gives notice of intent to introduce at the next meeting of the City Council the subject matter of an ordinance amending the code relating to liquor and beer in general, amending provisions related to late hours food and entertainment. That notice is given. Councilmember Goodman gives notice of intent to introduce at the next regular meeting of the City Council the subject matter of an ordinance amending the code relating to fire and police protection, Minneapolis Fire Department Fire Prevention Bureau, amending combustible contaminant levels relating to commercial hood and exhaust cleaning. That notice is given. Next item on our agenda is announcements. Are there any announcements? Councilmember Yang?
Thank you, Madam President. This week was National Police Week, and I wanted to give a shout out to our men and women in the Minneapolis Police Department for just all the wonderful things that they do. Every day. They had a nice ceremony on Tuesday for their fallen comrades, and it was a beautiful ceremony. I just wanted to give a shout out to our police for all the things that they do.
Thank you, Madam President. Two brief announcements. First, yesterday was the USA 1 Mile Road Championships, which were held in downtown Minneapolis. And I'm very excited to let you all know that our very own Heather Camp from Minnesota won in dominating fashion. It was pretty extraordinary to see her sprint down Hennepin, finish at 7th Street, and blow away the rest of the country. So we all should be very proud. We've got these elites that are in our midst. Second off, and I see Councilmember Reich right after me, I'm assuming he's going to talk about the same thing, but it's this weekend starting tonight and all weekend is Art World, which is arguably my favorite weekend of the entire year. And while there are a lot of beer and music events going on, please remember that those are secondary to the purchase of art.
Councilmember Reich?
And Councilmember Fry is correct. It's an event so big it allows us for 2 announcements to handle it. And I'll just echo the sentiment about, art is a big part of it, and purchasing art is an essential aspect of what Art World is about. And on that note, there's a lot of festivity and there's a lot of activity, particularly Saturday is kind of the high water mark in terms of all the activity that takes place. And for those who do want to buy art, Sunday is a really nice time. It kind of slows down a little bit. You get to see more of the art, talk with the artists a little more. So sort of my tip of the day is Sunday for art purchases. Saturday, party down.
Councilmember Bender.
Thank you, Madam President. Today we were wrapping up Bike Week, and this year the city did provide a small amount of financial support for Bike Week, so I wanted to let everyone know what that resulted in. So this year we had the biggest ever Bike to School Day with over 35 schools and 8,000 children and staff participating. The Bicycle Coalition gave out 2,000 lights to people who did not have them, so improving safety and visibility of bicyclists. There were more than 80 events across the city this week, and I know many of you participated in them, celebrating bicycling and supporting people on their bikes. This morning, many of us biked to work. We had 12 elected officials in Minneapolis, including Mayor Betsy Hodges, 9 council members, and 2 county commissioners biking. And 2 of our Met council members also biked to work today. I'll brag a little and say that I won the commuter challenge. So I represented bicycling and the council well the other day when I beat the train from Target Field Station down to Sea Salt by bicycle. But really this week was about celebrating the joy of bicycling. Although I will say I think we beat St. Paul in the number of people biking. So I wanted to thank everyone for indulging that small competition. But anyway, it was a great week and really highlighted all of our commitment to bicycling, and I wanted to thank everyone again.
Councilmember Quincy.
Thank you, Madam President. I appreciate Councilmember Yang pointing out Police Week and that event that was, of course, the memorial part, but there was also an awards program that I know Council Vice President Glidden and I participated in. That's always exciting. I just wanted to point out again to folks that the other day, Councilmember Johnson, myself, and Mayor Hodges were present at the cadet graduation ceremony for the fire department. 19 cadets started the program, and 19 finished the program, and we have achieved a new high in our fire service. So appreciated that support through the budget process and for the fire department for achieving that big goal. So congratulations to those new firefighters. They're no longer cadets.
Councilmember Goodman.
Thank you, Madam President. It's interesting to hear all of the good things that are happening in the city. I just want to bring it back to the personal and just note that today is Councilmember Quincy and Councilmember Yang's birthday, and that they share a birthday. I think that's really unique amongst 13 people, and just wanted the opportunity to wish you both a happy birthday and a year filled with very good health and happiness.
Thank you. I should also mention, Councilmember Glidden reminded me, this is also Municipal Clerks Week. So thank you to the great work that our clerk staff does. You are remarkable, in your ability to translate what goes on in some of our committee meetings, and just the backbone of our work here at the City Council. So thank you very much. And with that, we motion to adjourn be in order, and it's motion to adjourn to the next City Council meeting, June 5th, 2015.
So moved.
Second.
All in approval, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That carries. Thank you very much. Did I miss?